All right, everyone. Welcome back to Link to the Cure. I'm Chexhuman, and I'm joined on commentary by Tajzo. Hello, Taj.
Hi there.
How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Great to
So
hear.
we've got ourselves low percent all dungeons as a category, which is kind of an interesting one. What it really means is that we're doing a low percent run of the all dungeons major glitch category rule set, which is kind of interesting. In all dungeons, we're allowed to clip through walls and slopes, but we're not allowed to clip through floors. We're also not allowed to glitch indoors, but in doorways, that is. We can still glitch while we're in dungeons, but just not in doorways.
So I'll go ahead and get going in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so to start with, we do need to go and defeat all the dungeons, rescue Zelda, get all the crystals and pendants and all of that, and then defeat Ganon at the very end. So we do have to go through the entirety of the game, but with some help through clipping through slopes and walls to not only speed up the game, but to bypass certain requirements, which is really kind of interesting when we get into the meat of it. Now, to start, normally you would go through the castle, but turns out we can skip the fighter shield, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And we do that by first hopping out of bed, going and collecting the lamp, and heading outside and clipping into a slope immediately. Now we're doing a series of one-frame inputs using the select menu as a buffer so that we can get into the slope in such a way that it causes Link to do a downward teleport and will allow him to clip onto this little ledge here and kind of walk around these golden guards who just love to talk and talk and talk. But we're out of there, and out of there real quick, too. Usually you want to be out of that screen in about 50 seconds. And now we're headed over to Eastern Palace. Now, with the overworld in the rain state here, there aren't any enemy sprites or anything other than the golden guards that surround the castle or the castle courtyard. So there's absolutely nothing on the overworld to impede our progress right now. However, we're actually going to do another clip just to save a little bit of time instead of walking all the way up through the series of staircases up to Eastern Palace. And what's really interesting about that little clip is that we're actually hopping down, but it's wrapping Chex up to the top of the map, which is where the dungeon entrance is. And from now, it's just a casual run-through of Eastern Palace, except we don't have a sword. We actually have no way of defending ourselves right now. Well, I mean, we have thrown pots that we can use. But other than that, we have to take damage boosts or thrown pots in order to get through the dungeon until we get to the bow. And there's our first text message from Zelda. They usually come up about once every full minute of uninterrupted gameplay, which does not include the transitions from room to room. So we'll be seeing, what, 3 or 4 more of those?
Oh, I don't know the count. Also, ignore the bonus text you got after the Zelda message.
Well, the game was just warning you don't have any magic.
Noted.
Yeah, you really don't need much to get through Eastern Palace. Having the sword and the boomerang help with a couple of rooms and just speeding them up, but you honestly don't need them. And it's not really that dangerous either. The only really tricky part is getting the anti-fairy damage boost to get to the big key early, and then just making sure you get your shots at the end of the dungeon in the last few rooms. FSG, I'm counting the ones that go through to escape as well, because you are going to get at least one more once you're done with this dungeon. But here we go. We're going to go ahead and do the damage boost for the anti-fairy. We just have to stand on the switch while Link is corporeal, rather than being invulnerable, and it spawns the chest, which is nice and easy. Now we're coming up to getting the bow, which is our first weapon. and our main weapon for the first part of the game, up until we get the hammer, really. Got a little bit close there, but he's doing all right. Ooh. Those cannonballs. This is getting a little bit scary now, because if he does die, he has to start all over from Link's house and do the eclipse outside again. Now, without a sword, he's got to do a whole bunch of shots against all these little popos running around. Gets it done just fine, and has just enough arrows for Armos. Even gets a nice arrow drop from the Igors. Alright, that's fine. That's actually a good time to get the message rather than when you're waiting for the pendant to drop. Because now we know we're safe to collect it. If you wind up collecting the pendant, and then Zelda tries to message you while you're in this little fanfare, you get a nice little hard lock where Link just kind of spins around in place and gets a fade out on him over and over and over again. It's kind of fun to see. But we do want to avoid that.
It's something you can see in like an Armos RTA.
Yeah, where the timing on that one stops when you collect the pendant, then we don't care what happens to the game afterward. But now that we have that pendant, we can get our favorite item in the game, the Pegasus Boots. Now, what's kind of interesting is that there are actually a bunch of different routes for low percentile dungeons that get the same number of items, but you can change out a few of those items for others in order to still complete the game. This route will wind up getting the pearl, but others can get the mirror or the bottle in replacement of the pearl and still be able to finish the game. And there's even a crazy route that winds up skipping the book and the boots in exchange for the tempered sword and the fighter shield, which is an interesting one. But now we have to find our way into the castle, and trying to go through the Golden Guards, or really by Uncle, is a bad idea since we want to skip that fighter shield. So we have to go a whole nother way around. So yeah, you see Chex doing this clip into a slope here. He's got to do it very differently now than he does later on because he doesn't have use of his sword, which makes clipping into the slopes a little bit tougher. But we get a nice little screen wrap, we do a couple of other little weird bits of transition, and we wind up right inside the castle. Now he has to be very careful of his arrow count. He has to use a few arrows on the guards leading up to the ball and chain, and depending on his arrow count then, will decide whether or not he needs to use pots or anything, because he still needs to kill the key rat in the sewers, even after killing the ball and chain guard. So he's got to be very conscious of his ammo count.
I have 4 arrows, so I'm thinking use 2 on the ball and chains.
And leave 2 for key rat, just in case you miss. Because we don't have the boomerang with which to stun him, so you gotta be real careful with your shots. Now you saw that he went around the right side of the pot there for a moment. That was just to spawn the ball and chain guard so we can walk a little bit closer to the left before going for the shots. Now we have Zelda right behind us, so she doesn't have to stop us while we're in the middle of something. So the items that we wind up skipping overall, compared to a regular low percent NMG, we don't get the mirror. And there was something else that I feel like we were skipping in there, but the mitts, the mirror and the mitts are the major ones. Oh yeah, mirror, mitts, and yeah. At least compared to low percent NMG. Compared to regular all dungeons runs, then yeah, FSG put it right there where we skip boomerang, tempered sword, moon pearl, mitts, and mirror. Well, actually, we don't skip the pearl. You could, but that'd be a different route. And we'll be getting into how to skip all those different things later on.
Yeah, I was excited when this category first came about with FSG's theory of skipping the mirror, and it kind of grew into this.
Yeah, the original route for skipping mirror was something really interesting. We've since refined it to something much more manageable, but that original route was so funny.
Okay.
Alright, so moment of truth. I think this is the one category that actually wants Seattle Kier at.
I don't know. The left-hand corner is actually a shooting gallery. We never knew it.
Alright, so now we have rescued Zelda, which does stop the rain just like normal, although we still don't have a sword. However, we do gain the ability to punch. Now, punching is actually really nice because it acts like a sword slash, which helps with a lot of clipping that we do, which you'll see immediately as we go up Death Mountain in a moment. But yeah, punching is very important, and it's one of the easiest things that we can use to clip through slopes. Where we do the classic DMA here, which is an upward teleport, which actually goes over the transition here, and then we do some weird camera trickery to make sure that we don't take longer to, Actually, no, we're doing this other one, that's right. We're going all the way to Spectral Rock Cave, which is kind of weird. We're going through different parts of Death Mountain, but we can't exactly see the geometry, but it's the same one from the original game, and you just have to know exactly where to go for it. Then we do a bomb clip in the Spectacle Rock Cave here, which is another way to abuse the collision of the slopes and walls and such to clip through them. And we wind up going from Spectacle Rock Cave into Palace of Darkness, but we wrap around the map of the Underworld, which winds up despawning sprites. However, we're still in a cave, and that gives us some interesting consequences with our keys. The game only cares about using keys if it's 0. If it is not 0, then it will subtract 1 and open the door. Now, it turns out that when you enter into a cave, your key count is kind of initialized to a -1 value, which doesn't happen to be 0. So it'll subtract 1 and open the door for you. So now we get to go through Palace of Darkness, and we actually do it this early for a very important reason. There's a kind of weird consequence in the game with how the pendants and crystals are dropped that are dependent on the world that Link is in. Now, coming from Spectre Rock Cave, we were starting in the Light World, and that doesn't change throughout this entire dungeon. Now, if for some reason we had completed Desert Palace before we completed Palace of Darkness here, then when it would try to drop the crystal, it wouldn't, and we would be kind of stuck in Helmasaur's room. So we do have to do it this early, especially if we want to get the hammer, which is our main source of damage, and the Master Sword as early as possible. And then other than being without a sword and at low hearts, this is just your typical run-through pod, except we have to abuse Death Warps a little bit more because we don't have the mirror, and we'll never get it in this run.
We're coming up on Helmasaur King, which is the least free boss of this route, I would say.
He's the least free boss of almost every single glitched route. He's kind of the gatekeeper of many major glitch runs.
I have 18 arrows, so I have plenty to work with.
Yeah, you only need 8 to get through the second phase at minimum. You could go for hammer hits, but I believe they're pixel perfect, aren't they?
Something like that.
And he likes to move a lot in the second phase, so it's very, very risky. I can hear the pause buffers, and I heard the boss go, wow, nicely done.
Close your eyes.
Yeah, surviving the fight is better than anything else. So yeah, that's definitely one of the hardest fights in the run. Just to be able to do it without dying.
I was a little bit greedy in that I didn't step back far enough, and I just let Helmut Thor walk into me. So that's why I took a hit.
At least you had that hit to take.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that is kind of a little annoying about this low percent route is that we don't really get the old man save and restore spot, the one on Death Mountain. So we do have to wind up clipping up Death Mountain a few times, although we wind up doing it in different ways each time, so it's kind of alright in that respect. This is another one of those instances where we wind up wrapping the screen, which puts Link, which lets him jump from the bottom and kind of wrap him to the top. Which is really nice for getting to Tower of Hera, which is up at the top of the screen.
If you watch the new low optimized speedrun, tool assisted demonstration, that's what it is, a low tab, then you can see FSG's bow strats. But I'm being conservative with my arrows, so I'm not using the bow.
They save a little bit of time since you don't have to walk all the way up to the switch to hit it. I'm surprised you didn't take a couple of hits from the tiles to help your death warp here. Or is it just because of the mold orms in the room before?
Yeah, I wanted to go into the mold orms with 3 and then take a hit there, but I actually forgot. So then I had to take a couple of extra hits from the skeletons.
Now the only other part he's got to remember for Hera is to make sure he skips doing the bomb jump to the big chest, which is pretty easy to remember to do.
Right. Wait, what?
To remember to forget? Oh, right, I have the wrong route in mind. I don't know why I had that in my head.
Okay. I thought it was a test. It was a low percent test. Test of wit.
That's the problem with having so many different routes of this category that all seemingly work.
Okay, I don't... there's a water walk coming up. Not sure if I pulled it off correctly.
It looks like you did. It looks like you got it right. So what he did there after collecting the heart from Moldorm was he went up to the pit near the top and then dashed away from the pit in such a way that it sort of kept a state for Link falling into a pit. And what that does is whenever he jumps south now into deep water, he'll walk on top of it instead. Which actually saves a lot of time in the screen getting to the flippers. Because you only have to do a couple of dashes instead of going through all the shallow water. So now we're off to go get our last pendant from Desert, which is a nice quick dungeon where you just get the big key, the gloves, and kill the boss. Simple.
Depending on your comfort level with landmollas, you could get the ice rod first. It's just a simple clip to the ice rod from Link's house, but it is faster to get it after Desert.
Right, because there is a map rep that we do from the Desert side all the way across the screen. It's a little... The map rep itself is not very difficult, but getting it after Desert is definitely a lot faster than doing it from a fresh save and quit to Link's house. I think the scariest part of the map wrap is if you happen to get a bush guard, isn't it? Everything else is pretty simple to do.
I haven't had a bush guard kill my map wrap, but I have had a sort of a citrus clip killer. It was like a dash where I go into the slope to go up left and then continue the dash to the left, but I got pushed back to the right a little bit, and that killed me.
Yeah, that does kill your map reps. If you get nudged to the right at all, once you've wrapped, it just hard locks your game completely. There's probably some sub-pixel manipulation you can do to completely avoid that.
Bush guards simply scare me, so I'm more likely to just sort of make an improper input and yell.
As is the proper response when you get ambushed.
Right.
Oh wow, Steve, thanks for the $100 donation. We appreciate the support. Demo's a hard boss.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm starting to learn it. Starting to.
Alright, so now that you have all the pendants, we're gonna go get the Master Sword, but we're gonna take a quick detour. We're actually gonna go collect the Old Man real quick, but we aren't going to get the mirror. We do want to get the Old Man so that we can get a Light World save and quit point later, but we don't want to get the mirror. However, we still want to be able to enter dungeons and such, so we have to get him and then also get rid of him as soon as possible. And the way we actually do that is by using the follower that you get when you go up to the pedestal and pull the Master Sword. And that follower stays with you until you leave south of the Grove a little bit, or until you get a crystal from the Dark World dungeons. Now, that follower does delete the Old Man and prevents him from spawning one time. So we have to be very careful with how we proceed with the dungeon order from here. Basically, what we're trying to do is get the save and quit point for the Old Man, but not get the mirror. That's what we're trying to accomplish, but it's kind of weird. And is what really makes this category interesting. So now with the Old Man behind us, we can't really dash. We gotta walk the whole way. He doesn't like running. Although one weird property of the Old Man is that you actually get a slight speed up when you pick up bushes.
A bird took my bush away.
But now we've got the Master Sword, and we see the Old Man go poof. But now we have this invisible follower, and we have this Light World save and quit spot. Now we want to keep this follower as long as we can, really. The main point of getting that spot is so that we can get into Swamp Palace later. But first we have to do a little bit of collection of some other things, like the Ether Medallion and going through Mire a little bit. We even have to go kill Aghanim real quick because of the... Is Aghanim next here? I forget.
Yes, he is.
Okay, yeah. Because of the same problem that we were possibly running into with going through Palace of Darkness so early. Or rather, if we went through it any later. The whole conflicts of the pendant or crystal not dropping because you're in the wrong world.
I want to go back to that spin speed that got me off of the mountain. It's really important to get that first try, because then the boulders will start coming down if you miss it, and they could potentially soft lock you while trying to perform the DMD.
Right, because you do wind up hopping into a very precise location, and if those boulders knock you, they'll hit you north or south or something like that and wind up hitting the transition in a wrong way. And when that happens, the game doesn't like it. The tower wasn't my best work. It's tough when you can't block things.
Yes, lacking a shield is a big deal in the red spirit thrower rooms.
Now we're in everybody's favorite boss fight. We all love to hate it.
Nice. Sorry, spoiler alert.
I think the spoiler only happens to me, so you don't have to worry too bad about it.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, it seems like Scrivo's the only one who will ever get video proof of a 15 blue ball. So we still have that invisible follower behind us, and we do want to get to Swamp. The whole point of skipping the mirror is somehow getting into Swamp without it. And doing that is really interesting. We actually have to go through Mire first. But we can't complete Mire, because if we do that, we lose our follower once we get the crystal. So we have to only do a partial clear of it.
Alright, everyone, go away, please.
So the first part of this dungeon is actually kind of normal, although we do have to use a different Mire 2 strat since we don't have the fire rod. Instead, we use the ice rod, right? Or are you using bow?
Oh, I messed this up. Yeah, one reason I want to be at full hearts going into Mire is so I can use beams.
Yeah, beams are very important for the Mire 2 room. Both times that we have to go through it. Now we're actually collecting an extra key here for a very important reason. You had something to say?
Oh yeah, and Ice Rod is great, but it doesn't kill Popos, it just freezes them. So the beams are good for Popos.
Although one consequence we get of not having the fire rod at this point is that we have to use a lamp for all these torches here. Which is kind of slow, but it's faster than going and getting the fire rod by itself earlier.
And don't mind that I have 3.5 hearts, and Whiz Robes and Slugs do 4 hearts of damage.
Yeah, never mind that. It's not a big deal. So we got our big key, but now we're not done with Mire yet. We do need to go to Swamp Palace, but the way we do that is by clipping through a couple of walls. One that goes to Tower of Hera, and then one from Tower of Hera into Swamp. And that's where our extra key will come into play. Actually, a couple of extra keys, in fact.
Right, we could get an extra key in Swamp Palace, but I choose to flood it instead.
Yeah, it's faster to get that key over the mesh walkway than to get the one in the flooded room by, I think, about 3 seconds. That slug was scary.
Yeah. This is fine.
We do another bomb clip here. Actually, that bomb clip that goes from Mire to Hera is really funny because before it was impossible, and then we figured out what was making it impossible, and now it's free.
Shoutouts to Scrivo.
But even though we're in Misery, we still are in a Swamp Palace, and we never collected the Swamp Palace's big key, we still have the Meyer one, which the game doesn't care which big key you have as long as you have one for the current dungeon you're in, which is why he can get the hook shot. And once we have it, we can go ahead and leave. But since we've already killed Aghanim, we're stuck in the Dark World, and we still need to go and drain the dam in the Light World. So the way we do that is by doing a few overworld clips that wind up putting us into the Houlihan room, which is just kind of confusing the game as to when you fall into a hole and it doesn't know exactly where to put you. So we do a few clips around the map, and we transition in such a way that we wind up in Skullwoods and walk through some garbage sort of looking collision until we wind up in Houlihan, or rather a hole that will lead us to Houlihan. And that will automatically take us to the Light World. And from there, we go ahead and drain the dam, and when we save and quit, because we still have that follower, the old man won't spawn. Now, since we never turned him in, we still have the save and restore point from when you pick him up. But since we still have that follower, he doesn't spawn, and we don't get hard-locked when we go up there, and we're not forced to turn him in to get the mirror.
I almost opened the chest in the dam, which wouldn't be a bad thing, because it has 3 bombs in it.
Yeah, it would have topped you off to 10. But now we have to do the clip from Hera to Swamp again, and then exit Swamp, and once we re-enter it, then we'll have Swamp loaded, but the dam will still be drained, and we can swim across the entrance. This is the entire process that we have to go through in order to skip the mirror. We have to go through several dungeons in kind of weird ways in order to just get into Swamp.
Nice. That was not the right lineup. So this is the longest segment in the run, at just around 12 minutes.
I thought you were going to put a split for when you get hook shot. Did you never do that?
No, I never did that. I just kept my split simple.
Now, what's fun about Swamp is it's still dangerous, as FSG is pointing out, when you only have 4 hearts at this point, but it's also really fast once you get into Swamp proper, because you already have everything you need. And can literally go straight to the boss after you get the 1 pot key after the first set of swimming after the entrance. Now, the dungeon may be easy, but getting the Argus fight done fast is pretty hard.
Oh, jeez. Gotta be safe here, actually. Dang. Oh no. Well, it could have gone a lot better.
Thanks, Korak, for the 25 donation. We appreciate the support. But now we're done with a lot of the weird stuff in the run. From here on out, it's mostly just overworld clips. We don't really have to worry too much about other strange things. But we do have a number of dungeons left. We still have to do Thieves' Town, Skull Woods, Ice Palace, T-Rock, and Ganon's Tower. This run is kind of weird in how long it puts off Thieves' Town, but we really don't need to do it any earlier because we don't need the mitts, since we're not getting tempered and we can skip the mitts entirely. So it can go pretty late. But before we even do that, we need to get to Misery Mire again and actually finish that dungeon. Now, in regular all dungeons, there's this neat little bomb clip you could do on the overworld screen there with the mushroom bombers, but it's not really good for this run because then you would lose beams from Mire 2. And you would save a lot more by having beams from Mire 2 than you do by doing the bomb clip on the overworld.
Good news. I remembered to get the cane.
That is good news.
Okay. Hello, Fireball. After you.
Now, sadly, we don't have the fire rod, so we can't even do the most recent NMG glitch to really be utilized, the spooky action glitch. So we got to do it the old way with bombing open the wall.
Okay. I'll take 2 arrows.
Yeah, the arrows are nice to have for the Vidi fight coming up.
I released my spin too late.
Yeah, I think you were in mid firing a non-arrow because you already had one on screen. Okay, so Scrave's pointing something out. We don't have to mirror to fix fake Dark Roll because there's a lot of weird things that happen with fake worlds in this game. If you die in a dungeon before defeating Aga 1, it'll put you in Light World, but there are other ways to get to fake worlds, which are coming from the Light World directly and not changing your world on the way. So it's kind of weird to explain in a concise way. There's just a lot of weird things that happen when you have these two worlds that you can change between without even going through the overworld. That is also a very tough fight to get through. That was well done.
Scriva is saying lightning caught the arrow, which is always a fun effect. But I missed it.
Yeah, it wound up pushing one of your arrows down to the bottom of the screen, completely protecting one of his smaller eyeballs. Now we're just making our way up into Thieves Town. We have to go through these couple of outside areas because we don't have the mitts to lift up the Dark Rocks leading up to this path up to Village of Outcasts.
I don't know why I keep canceling left after dashing to the right. It doesn't really make any sense. It's as if I was going to set up a key dash.
Yeah, I find myself
go through the grate of Thieves Town.
I find myself doing that with almost every dash as well, that you're always kind of thinking about how you want to cancel it. So this dungeon is pretty standard. The only thing that we have to remember to do is to skip getting the mitts. Otherwise, it's pretty standard. There's nothing too special going on here.
Another thing to think about while routing this category is that you have an invisible follow. Well, it doesn't really matter that much, but if you did have an invisible follower, then the maiden wouldn't appear in her cell.
Yeah, so Thieves Town can't be all that early. It would either have to be much earlier than it is right now, or before we even tried to delete the follower. It would have to be before deleting the old man, or at this point where we've already finished Swamp.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that you could hookshot those locks either, Chex. When did you discover this?
I don't know, it's just something that came to me. The benefit of hookshot is coming up with some hook speed. Someone knows it. I swear I've seen it. But I don't know who.
Well, it wasn't me for sure. After this dungeon, we continue our conquest going north and head right into the woods. We actually get a nice little time save by having the Cane of Samari at this point, which makes one of the more troublesome rooms in the NMG run a lot easier. And even more so since we don't have the mirror, because getting out of that room afterward can usually be a pain if you don't have the mirror at that point.
Okay. I didn't do that room optimally. I need to practice it, actually.
The thing is, after the mummy statue room where Chex used the Cane of Samari, the rest of the dungeon is pretty standard. We do have a lot more hearts at this point, which is kind of nice, especially for the moth fight, which can get out of hand at times.
Yeah, for sure. Oh. Let's get the arrows, why not?
Yeah, you didn't pick the ones up in Thieves Town for one reason or another.
Yeah. That pot in Thieves Town is just so far away.
Both of them are.
Oh, yeah.
But now we've cleared up the west side of the Dark World. Now we got to do the east side, or finish it up between Ice Palace and Turtle Rock. You do Ice Palace first, right?
Eventually.
Eventually? Oh, GT is first?
Yes, indeed. So there's a bit of bopping of enemies I'm going to do here. Just collect a bit of damage.
Yeah, he wants the Death Warp after he's done with the Ice Armos fight. And the basement part of GT doesn't really have that many opportunities of quick damage. So taking this extra bit of damage from Ropas and such is pretty nice.
Oops. Got a little bit lost there.
It's kind of hard when you can't see exactly what the geometry is.
Uh-huh. And you can't see which side of the screen Link is going to decide to be on. Oops. That was awkward. I think I'm doing this right.
Oh, taking the extra damage and all that?
Yeah. I haven't quite optimized how I get bounced around the screen.
Now doing the rest of the climb for Ganon's tower with only 7 hearts is kind of scary. I mean, not quite as scary as no EG, or as any percent no EG, but still pretty scary. Because you gotta make it last for a while.
I messed up. This could be interesting. Alright.
Things are getting away from you, huh?
Heart was a trap, obviously.
Isn't that one of the rules of Link to the Past?
Indeed.
Whenever you try to get a heart, you lose too.
It's absolutely the rule.
Tried to go a little quick there, didn't you?
Yeah, it's just a callback to Eastern Palace.
Right.
Let's say.
It's intentional.
Moldorm is harder than hovering.
Right, because you got to hit him 3 times rather than just 2, so it's possibly even more of a time save for this than you would think in a normal NMG run. And now we have the penultimate boss, although it's not penultimate for this category.
I slashed one of those balls at the most obtuse angle I've ever seen. And it just went into the wall, of course.
Well, it's part of dealing with geometry, wizard.
I'm gonna take a safety save here.
Yeah, before dipping into Ice Palace.
That's right.
So, the thing about getting into Ice Palace is, before you would think you'd need the mitts to get in there normally, but we don't get the mitts. And for regular all dungeons, you have the mirror, so you do the mirror app, but we don't get the mirror. So we have to do something else, and this is a clip that is possible only because we have the flippers. And a link state, actually, as I found out kind of recently. But it's important that we have the flippers for this, because we do need to swim a little bit.
Oops. There we go.
And then this hop from above Hype Cave here is one of my favorite little hops, because it puts you right on the ledge you want to be on without having to deal with the mushroom bombers. So we're doing a lot of weird camera things with the with how we're doing the transitions here. We're hopping over transitions and continuing further because it's a larger screen on the other side, but when we transition over, it kind of puts us over where the ice rod area is, but not really. The game is all sorts of confused, and we figured out how to make sense of it for us. It's just really weird.
Oh no!
Oh, you took a heart of damage, so no beams for you in the conveyor?
Not quite.
Oh. That's what happened. So you're taking great lengths in this segment to make sure you have beams when you get the cold stare. Because what he's going to do is he's going to use the beams and the fire rod shots to kind of mask the beam damage as fire rod shot hits to be able to melt cold stare's shell with only half the magic you would normally need. So he's taking things a bit slower, like around the yellow spike, and not going for that fancy Ice Palace stair clip here.
Since I saved and quit, I think I reset the altitude variable. And cold stare will be easier to hit with double hits.
Does that reset with the save and quit? I don't think it does.
I think it does. Let's find out together.
This is gonna get interesting.
No. I might be right there.
Yeah, I was pretty sure it doesn't reset with a save and quit. It would reset with a reset, but not with a save and quit.
You're right. I should have listened to you.
Well, you got a couple of fire rod shots off in any case, instead of all four.
Always listen to Taj. That's the rule.
I'm not always right. So what we were kind of talking about there with the altitude variable and all of that is when you finish Ganon's tower, the bird does pick you up, and the bird does set this altitude variable that winds up messing with where the splash damage for the fire rod shot lands. Now, there's ways that you can reset that variable by using the lamp and the cane of Samaria, but there aren't really good opportunities to do that outside of outright pulling out those items yourself and using them real quick while in Ice Palace. Or by resetting the game, as we were talking about a little earlier. But now we're making our way up to Turtle Rock. It's our last dungeon. We're actually going to enter it from about halfway through the dungeon, right before where you get or right around where you get the big key. But we're getting there through a couple of clips over here by the catfish area.
I didn't mean to get hit by the rope, but I dashed for some reason. Although, I do have 5 hearts, so I could attempt a... this could be dangerous, but I think...
Yeah, go for it. Go for it, you only have 1.
That should work. Oops. Well, I got there.
It didn't lose you any time.
Yeah. Oops. I messed up this mover.
Yeah, we have everything else we need for this dungeon. We just got to get to Trinex and kill him. And then after that, all that's left is Ganon. Which is not really a small fight. It's probably one of the hardest to get the first couple of phases done.
It goes without saying that we're skipping silver arrows, so we'll have to use things like Master Sword spins and torch glitch to beat the game.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of spins to kill Ganon with Master Sword. It's 52 in total. Alright, so there's our last crystal.
So
Now, one of the funny...
we've reached our goal. We can open Ganon's tower now with the 7 crystals.
Yeah. Although I think we're past that point.
That's right. I already did Ganon's Tower.
Now, once we're actually done with this crystal here, we don't have a way of getting off the nose of the Turtle Rock entrance. We do have to save and quit, which makes doing GT earlier kind of nice, because the hole in the pyramid is already open at that point. Plus, I think you're more likely to have more hearts coming from a save and quit than you would being done with Ganon's Tower.
Maybe.
So first we gotta get 12 spin hits for the first phase, where he's throwing your trident at you. And then he has gotta get 12 more hits in the next phase with the bat circles. And these two phases are probably the hardest ones of the entire fight. So now we're in phase 2. Got a really good start for all these spins. So now we're in the third phase, and we have to hit him once for every side of the wall that he brings down. Alright, good torch glitch. So now we need 24 spins for this last phase. He optimally wants to get 3 hits per lighting of the torch on the side there. And the torch glitch is actually getting that first torch lit before the second one goes out. I think it's something like a 16 frame window or something. It's a pretty big window. But as long as you get the torch glitch at the start of this phase, then it will work for the entirety of it. So you do get some breathing room. And there it is. Well done, Chex.
Thank you. GG's. Thanks for the GG's. And HH's.
So this was the route where you get the pearl. There are still a few other routes, one where instead of pearl you get a bottle, or instead of pearl you get the mirror and such, but this one is, I think, the fastest route out of what we've seen so far. Especially with FSG's new, low optimized tool assisted demonstration that he did, where he was able to get a 119 out of it. So this category can go pretty fast, but it's definitely a bit harder than your standard runs. But it has a lot of cool stuff going on in it.
Yeah, it's been really fun to help route this thing, and there are other things to consider, like go to Skull Woods early and get the fire rod, so you have it available for Mire. But it seems a bit too out of the way. There's also like a 7-heart Ganon's Tower possibility, but it's sort of a task-only situation. Or maybe it doesn't save any time at all.
Yeah,
My calculation was
of
that it saves 7 seconds, but then you lose time for not having Hookshot or Samaria in Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, and you have to bomb those crystal switches when you're in the basement. There's a lot of weird things that go into routing this category that you honestly have to have a good knowledge of the game to understand why we do things the way we do them. I tried to touch on a few of them, but there's definitely a lot more that goes on behind the scenes as far as to the dungeon order and why we do things the way that they're done. This game is very weird and has a lot of very weird glitches that allow you to go through the game in some interesting ways. It's kind of the reason why we have 4 different categories of glitch use, where you have no major glitches, you have this category, the all dungeons glitch set, you have another one that allows for door glitches, and another one that allows for using the exploration glitch. This game has a lot to offer if you're a glitch hunter.
It really does. A lot of people talk about using the Japanese 1.0 version of A Link to the Past, which is faster for dialogue, for getting through dialogue and things like that, and it lets you do some same frame tricks and glitches that the US version doesn't allow.
Things like spin speed, fake flipper, and mirror wraps. But outside of a few things on the overworld, a lot of them also work on the US version. A lot of your door glitches work just the same, and those things are insane when you start getting into them. And even a lot of the overworld clips that you saw Chex perform in this run, they're also doable on the US version. Some of them are a bit harder because you can't do spin speed, but they're otherwise just as functional.
Yeah, I haven't considered doing this on the US version, but I would assume that it's all possible given the no door glitches are allowed or required, things like that. So you can probably do this on the US version.
Yeah, it doesn't have any mirror wraps or fake flippers. The item dashes aren't strictly necessary, so yeah, I think it could be done on the US version.
You mentioned before there are other categories. We got a little bit confused for a second over the Moon Pearl. This category gets the Moon Pearl. It's low % all dungeons Pearl, or Pload, or Plow-ad, or however you want to.
Depending on how you pronounce
acronym it. And yeah, so you get the Pearl instead of other items that you could get. You could get the bottle or the mirror. So with the mirror version, you could get the mirror and skip the bottle and the Moon Pearl. Or on the bottle version, you can get a bottle and skip Pearl and mirror. And I went into this marathon thinking I might do the bottle version, but then all of a sudden there was a lot of development on doing a route for Pearl, and so this became sort of the run to do.
And a lot of that came with how we wound up getting rid of the old man so that we could get into Swamp Palace without needing the mirror, which I believe credits to FSG for figuring that out, where you can get rid of the old man by getting the invisible follower from the pedestal, rather than the series of events that we did before.
Yeah, I think Blank brought it up first, perhaps.
Okay, Blank. Yeah, it was either it was Blank. Yeah, it was either Blank or FSG. But the old method that we did for getting rid of the old man was something to behold. The process that we did is we went and got the old man. This was the bottle version of the route. We had to fake flute while we're in the dark world with the old man following us, go over to Kiki, pay him to follow us for a bit, and then leave, go get the purple chest, which means we had to have rescued the smithy beforehand so that the purple chest would spawn. And then once we had the purple chest, then we had to go and do that Houlihan setup that you did at Skull Woods, or rather to get back to the light world. And then we could go pull the dam. Which
could be done at the hole that Ganon crashes into.
It was an amazing piece of work, and I'm a little sad it got obsoleted, but I definitely want to keep it in the history books because it was a blast coming up with that.
Right, I don't think the door has closed on that route. We still have yet to really route that version, so yeah, that'll be something fun to do next.
Yeah, the bottle version hasn't been updated with the new stuff that we're doing with the old man at the pedestal, and I believe that'll still wind up being faster. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for commentating, Taj. I think.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Now we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be back with Scrivo and any percent no EG for A Link to the Past. And if you want a very tense run with very few hearts, then this is going to be the run to watch. So thanks again, and stay tuned for more Link to the Cure.